everybody, and welcome to the Township of Howell Planning Board meeting for Thursday, March 5th, 2026. Opening statement, please.
I hereby declare this meeting of the Howell Township Planning Board to be open. Adequate notice having been given pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act in the following manner. First, on January 8th, 2026, a copy of said notice was emailed to the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger. Second, on January 8th, 2026, a copy of said notice was hand-delivered to the clerk of the Township of Howell. Third, on January 8th, 2026, said notice was posted in the office of the Planning Board and on the bulletin board in the Howell Township Municipal Building, 4567 Route 9, Howell Township, New Jersey. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code and for your safety, please be advised that this facility is designed with 2 emergency exits at the front and rear of the meeting room. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Township TV 77. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Beto?
Here.
Mr. Friedman?
Here.
Mr. Gimbel?
Here.
Mr. Greenfield is excused. Mr. Carbonic?
Here.
Mr. McNicholas?
Here.
Mr. Mercer?
Here.
Councilman Rebel?
Here.
Mr. Wetko?
Here.
Ms. Kaur?
Here.
Chairman Huzzer?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and after a moment of silence for our men and women who have served both here and abroad. Okay, thank you. Okay, on to approval of minutes for the regular meeting of August 21st, 2025. Eligible voters, Mr. Beto, Mr. Friedman, Mr. McNicholas, Mr. Mercer, and myself. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Mr. McNicholas, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Friedman?
Mr. Beto?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. McNicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Mercer?
Yes.
Chairman Huzzer?
Yes.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved.
Okay. The approval of regular meeting for September 18th, 2025. Eligible voters, Mr. Beto, Mr. Friedman, Mr. Carbonic, Mr. McNicholas, Mr. Mercer, Mr. Wetko, and myself. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. McNicholas, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Mercer?
Mr. Beto?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. Carbonic?
Yes.
Mr. McNicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Mercer?
Yes.
Mr. Wetko?
Yes.
Chairman Huzzer?
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
Okay, approval of minutes for the regular meeting of October 16th, 2025. Eligible voters, Mr. Beto, Mr. Friedman, Mr. Carbonic, Mr. McNicholas, Mr. Mercer, Mr. Wetko, and myself. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Beto and Mr. Friedman?
Mr. Beto?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. Carbonic?
Yes.
Mr. McNicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Mercer?
Yes.
Mr. Wetko?
Yes.
Chairman Huzzer?
Yes.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved.
And an approval of minutes for the regular meeting of December 4th, 2025. Eligible voters, Mr. Beto, Mr. Friedman, Mr. McNicholas, Mr. Mercer, Mr. Wetko, and myself. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Mercer, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Beto?
Mr. Beto?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. McNicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Mercer?
Yes.
Mr. Wetko?
Yes.
Chairman Huzzer?
Yes.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved.
Thank you. Do we have any correspondence this evening?
Yes, from Ken Pape for application SP1133A, Archangel Michael Adult Day Healthcare Center. He would like it to be carried to another meeting. He's here to talk about the date.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, good evening. The Archangel Michael application was reviewed by your staff, and it was determined that the submission we made wasn't complete enough for this board to hear the application. We took that counsel to heart. We've hired a traffic engineer to assist us, and we would ask if the application, which was published for this evening, could be carried to a date in May to give us an opportunity to do the necessary study. And I'd ask if there is a date in May that's available.
Yeah, do you want the first or the second meeting in May? Whichever's better for you.
Wherever you've got the room.
There's one case on May 14th, Star Cap, and May 21st has Seafree Plaza.
You want the 14th?
I'll take the 14th,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Could we carry to that, we published a notice for this evening, could we carry to that date without further notice or publication?
Yep.
Yeah, Ken, the expiration date's March 31.
On the record, we'll extend it to May 31, and I'll provide the letter tomorrow.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
And so anyone here on application SP 1133A, Archangel Michael Adult Day Healthcare Center, Inc., for minor site plan approval, this application is being carried to May 14, 2026, without further notice. So if you're here just for that, you don't need to stay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks, Andy. Is there any other correspondence?
No.
Okay. We have no resolutions this evening. Okay, on to submission waivers. Case number SP 1145 Vanderveer Industrial Partners LLC. It's for preliminary and final major site plan. Ken, you got a busy evening.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and professional staff. This is the 10 Industrial Court and another of the small industrial buildings on Industrial Court. There is on page 6 of Laura's report, under paragraph 3, a list of checklist waivers. We defer to Ms. Newman, but we're requesting the board consider these favorably.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, one of the items which has to deal with descriptions for any easements, that would be actually provided if the board acted favorably for a resolution compliance, so that's a temporary waiver. As it relates to the balance, I would recommend that a 2,000-foot downstream drainage analysis be provided, but the balance of the items, I would take no exception to the granting of waivers for the purposes of deeming the application complete. So we would just need checklist item 60.
That's acceptable.
Okay,
Thank you.
any questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve?
Mr. McNicholas, do I have a second?
I'll second to approve.
Mr. Mercer?
Mr. Beto?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. Gimbel?
Yes.
Mr. Carbonic?
Yes.
Mr. McNicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Mercer?
Yes.
Councilman Rebel?
Yes.
Mr. Wetko?
Yes.
Chairman Huzzard?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to switch the order of the applications, just because one's a little more involved than the other. So going first is back to Ken. This will be for case number SP 904A-3, 3G Corporation in the Goldmont Shopping Center. This is for amended preliminary and final major site plan with ancillary variance relief.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board professionals and public. Kenneth Pape on behalf of 3G. This is the Goldmont Shopping Center. It is the one with amazing savings as its anchor. And the request that we have for the board this evening is to do a facade modification to change the signage for amazing savings and to more symmetrically balance the front of the building. Before, ask if you could confirm receipt of our notices and taking jurisdiction of the application.
Yes, Ken, the board has jurisdiction, you can proceed.
Thank you.
Wanted to, during the day today, I was contacted by Mr. Yost's office, and it was brought to my attention, and I brought to our client's attention, that there appears to be an unkempt rear yard at this center. We figured out which tenants needed to be addressed. I brought it to the attention of the property owner. I wanted to begin by saying that your applicant, your property owner is fully aware of the issue and understands that whatever relief, if there's relief granted, would be withheld until such time that that property is cleaned up. Wanted to get that right out.
Yeah, thank you,
front.
Ken.
You're
Appreciate that.
welcome. We appreciate it being brought to our attention. The presentation is to modify a portion of the front facade of the main building. Malky Rubb is the architect who's responsible for the plans. We have a fairly succinct presentation on the facade changes. Just with permission from the professionals and the board, we're ready to make that presentation.
Yeah.
So if Ms. Rubb could be sworn in, we'll place her credentials on the record and go right to her.
Do you affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name for the record, spell your last.
Melissa Rubb, R-U-B.
Ms. Rubb, would you take a few moments to share your education and professional background with the board?
Absolutely. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of
Good
the
evening.
board. My name is Melissa Rubb. I'm a registered architect in the state of New Jersey. I'm a graduate of the City College School of Architecture, and I've appeared before this and other municipal boards throughout the state.
And is your license in good standing on this date?
It is.
We will accept your credentials. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you could describe the revisions that are proposed, and if you could, from an architect's perspective, point out their benefits.
Absolutely, sure. So as Mr. Pape described, and you can see on the architectural rendering before you and on the elevation on the screen behind you, we are proposing modification for about 50 feet of the facade to the right of the current Amazing Savings sign. The store has already expanded on the interior of the shopping plaza, and so the signage just mirrors that expansion. It adds some symmetry to the, like as Mr. Pape described, the anchor store in the plaza, and removes 2 of the existing signs that are currently there.
And I believe there's a portion of the architectural treatments that has a logo on it, and that constitutes a sign for which we would need to request relief.
Sure, so that circular portion would be the,
The little circle is a logo and becomes a sign. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, that is your applicant's presentation. That is the relief we're asking. Our client would like to make further capital improvements into the building, essentially to thank Amazing Savings for becoming about another third larger than they were before.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is your forte, so if you have any questions.
So as I looked at your drawings, there was one item that I was looking at, which would be, the existing columns are there, they're going down to the foundation, but do you know how far down that there was, I see you want to put metal studs going around it to protect it, and then you're going to put a brick veneer, so why would you do that rather than using CMU?
that's a good question. So the idea was to match the size and shape of the current columns that are on the left-hand side. CMU is just a little bulkier, so, to get the same dimensions so that the 2 are balanced. In terms of durability, at the end of the day, it is a face brick, so that would, the CMU wouldn't add to the durability, in my opinion. It would pretty much be the same end result.
And were you the original architect to this plaza?
I was not.
Because I see there was a lot saying to match existing on your drawings. So if there's not a manufacturer that will match that brick or match that ephes, well, would the plaza then will in turn be repainted to match the existing color?
Yes.
Yes.
And if the brick is different, would you then have to do extra work for the extra veneers?
So I think that we would do as close a match as we can. I can't say that they'll pull off the brick on the existing columns. I don't know if that's, cost prohibitive, I would say.
Okay, I'm just looking at it more of a perspective of like when you're driving, that looks more cohesive. Actually, I drove to the site just to make sure I don't go on that side of town. So I just wanted to make sure like where Amazing Savings was and that the bollards are going to remain.
That's correct.
Okay. That's all my questions.
The bollards are required.
Yes, I just wanted to know if there was like any repair to them or anything like that.
Any other questions, gentlemen? No? Seeing none, I'll open up to the public. If the public has any questions or comments on this application. Seeing none, close the public portion.
Mr. Chair, we respectfully ask that the board consider favorably the relief that we're requesting for our client to enhance the front facade of the building and to change the architectural features across the front of the building.
Great. Thanks, Ken. Okay, gentlemen, I will entertain a motion. Please state, as we all got the email, if you're making a motion to approve or deny this application when you make a motion. So I will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the application.
Okay.
Second.
Mr. Friedman is making a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and we have a second. Mr. Gimbel with the second.
Okay. Mr. Beto?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. Gimbel?
Yes.
Mr. Carbonic?
Yes.
Mr. McNicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Mercer?
Yes.
Councilman Revelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wetko?
Yes.
Chairman Huzzer?
Yes.
Application is approved. Motion carries.
Thank you.
much. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, and on to our last application this evening is case number SD 3027, RCH 162 Newton's Corner Road LLC. This is for preliminary and final major subdivision. Good evening and welcome back.
Good evening. Thanks for having us back. So again, Steve Goen, Giordano, Howler, and Cecil on behalf of the applicant. To my right is Tom Moeller from Dynamic Engineering. So the board will remember we were here December 4th, 2025. We presented some testimony, and we all sort of resolved that there was a bit of an issue with some drainage in the rear of the property, and that we were going to come back and take a look at that and try to come up with a better design. So actually, what the applicant did was brought Tom in from Dynamic to take over for the prior engineer, Verdantis, to come up with a solution for that. Tom's going to present to you what we think is a much improved layout for the project overall. You can see it on the screen here. You can tell it's a little bit different from what you were looking at the first time, where we had sort of an angled driveway and units coming out at an angle. So the current layout, obviously, we think is much improved, and Tom's going to speak to the fact that they were able to pull out of all of the buffer areas, which is something that we talked about last time, and solve the grading and the drainage issues. So I'm going to introduce Tom, have him give his professional qualifications, and we'll get started.
You swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
State your name for the record, spell your last.
Thomas Muller, M-U-L-L-E-R.
And so, Tom, before we start, could you give the board the benefit of your professional qualifications, please?
Absolutely. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey in good standing. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering from Rutgers University, as well as a Master's in Engineering from Rutgers University. I've been a senior principal with the firm of Dynamic Engineering Consultants based out of Lake Como. Been with the firm for over 15 years. I have experience throughout the state of New Jersey on many similar projects. I have presented in front of the Township Zoning Board. This is actually my first opportunity in front of the Planning Board, but I've appeared to many boards across the state of New Jersey.
We will accept your credentials. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Tom, why don't you explain to the board, after you got a chance to look at the site plan that we had originally presented to the board in December, what you looked at and the revisions that you made.
Absolutely. So what you see on the screen is a colorized rendering of the updated site plan layout. This is a site plan rendering prepared by my office dated March 5th, 2026. This is just an identical site plan layout to what we submitted as part of the updated application package. What we did here was we just colorized the site. We show the landscaping around the site. We show the different buildings in different colors, and we show the new cartways within the middle of the site in the gray colors. You can see the sidewalks and stormwater basins along the front of the site.
And just for reference, this is it's Exhibit A25 on the exhibit list, the updated exhibit list.
Yep. So on Exhibit A25, the north arrow is directly pointing up on the screen, which is the same orientation that the previous exhibits were prepared in. So as Mr. Goen mentioned, Dynamic Engineering has been brought on as a new engineer of record. The site plan package that was submitted on February 20th is the new site plan package that will govern for the site. So what we did was we were brought onto the team, and we immediately started working with the applicant's professionals, and we immediately reached out to the township professionals. We got an immediate understanding of what some of the concerns were. I did have the opportunity to review the recording from the previous planning board hearing on December 5th, 2020, or December 4th, 2025. So I do have a deep understanding of what the concerns were. The previous application proposed 22 total dwelling lots. They had the cartway coming into the site on a skew coming into the site. They were aligned to the Wawa driveway, which is across the street towards the bottom of the frontage that you see on Exhibit A25. What we did was, yeah, exactly. What we did was we actually took a look at that and we realigned that driveway so it's straight across from the Mascon Bank driveway. That allowed us to bring the roadway in nice and straight into the site. We eliminated a residential site improvement exception that the previous application had for the center line radius. So now what you see is a much more common design, a nice clean straight cartway right into the site with no curvature. As that cartway comes into the site, there'll be a cul-de-sac at the end on the eastern side of the site, and then we were able to branch off onto a secondary road which is currently shown as Road B, just to get into that deeper part of the site. So we made the site much more efficient from a layout perspective. And as a result of this, we were actually able to add 2 dwelling units, which I'll touch on in a few minutes. So whereas they previously were proposing 22 total dwelling units, we now have 24 total dwelling units. Some of the main points of concern that were identified at the last hearing were obviously the residential buffer. So first and foremost, once we took a look at this layout, we started from the outside in and we redesigned the site to completely comply with the 50-foot setback requirements. We pulled all of the grading out of that area. We pulled out all of the stormwater management. We shifted the cul-de-sac and the roadways inward. We shifted the building footprints inward, and we were able to completely comply with that 50-foot setback. The only technical deviation or variance that's required for that setback is simply to remove existing improvements that are in that buffer. Most of the board probably knows there's greenhouses, there's a number of driveways, there's a number of other improvements, parking areas in that existing 50-foot buffer, including the nursery itself. All of that obviously is being removed, and by ordinance that does technically require a variance, but immediately after removal, we prepared a substantial landscaping plan that will reforest that buffer. That plan has been submitted to the township's landscape reviewer, Sherry Sparrow. We had the opportunity to review it with her. We did review her review letter, and we have no problem addressing their comments. So after proposed development goes in, we're substantially replanting that buffer area. Also, as part of the buffer improvements, we're removing a significant amount of invasive species. So again, that was worked out with Ms. Sparrow. So we're removing a number of invasive species known as tree of heaven, and we're replacing it with a more native and more appropriate plant in that buffer area. And also, as I mentioned, we're tying in all of the grading to that buffer area. The previous application had a very steep slope. The applicant's previous engineer noted that he had a 3-to-1 slope in that buffer right up against that eastern property line. We completely removed that buffer disturbance from this project. And as I'll touch on in a minute, those eastern buildings, they're going to be designed as walkout basements. And that gave us the opportunity to make up that grade change and tie into the existing grades along that buffer line. The applicant also has agreed to provide monuments along that buffer line just to demarcate it and make sure that no future disturbances will occur in that buffer area. As part of the other layout improvements, we increased the cartway width to 30 feet wide. There was previous commentary with the previous application that it was 28 feet wide, which does not support parking on both sides. So there was some concern about providing no parking signage on part of that cartway, but we increased that to 30 feet to meet residential site improvement standards, which allows parking on both sides of the roadway. The previous application also, as I mentioned, skewed that roadway, and all of the driveways basically came in to the proposed roadway at an angle. There was certainly some concern from Ms. Newman at the previous hearing, and what we did was we realigned all the driveways and the cartways so that they're all 90-degree turns into the proposed roadway, which is a much more safe and efficient design than what was previously proposed. That also allowed us to make the property lines perpendicular, which eliminated a number of non-conforming conditions on the last application. We also removed the RSIS exception that I mentioned previously. There was a center line curvature issue on the previous plan. That exception is no longer needed. Just quickly on stormwater improvements, there was certainly some concerns expressed at the December hearing. So as I mentioned, we removed the grading from the buffer area. That allowed us to maintain existing drainage patterns along the property lines and allowed us to move a lot of the grading inward from that buffer. We analyzed different points of analysis. I know there were some concerns with the southern and eastern properties. So we analyzed the points of analysis in a little bit more detail to show that we are reducing peak runoff rates and volumes to the east and to the south significantly. And then obviously to the west, which is Newton Corner Road, we're reducing stormwater runoff to that direction as well. So simply put, we completely comply with NJ 7:8 NJDEP requirements as well as township ordinances. There's also a concern with groundwater mounding. The previous application simply didn't comply with it. This project completely complies with groundwater mounding. there's a significant amount of discussion on the last hearing about what physical lot improvements are going to be proposed on each individual lot. So what we did was we looked at each lot, all 24 lots, and we show a shed, a porch, a sidewalk, a driveway, covered awning areas. So we actually show all of the improvements that'll be proposed on each lot. And we broke out every single lot, and we provided an exact impervious coverage calculation for every single lot. I know there was a lot of confusion at the last hearing about 800 square feet on some lots versus other lots, but what we did was we designed the patios and decks to meet the maximum allowable setback requirements for each lot. So as these future lots come online and the individual property owners submit plot plans to the municipality, as long as their plan is equal or less in size of these decks, then it will be completely compliant. And as I mentioned, we maximize the maximum allowable patio and everything for each lot. So what you see is the maximum that would be built. As part of this redesign, the project is completely compliant with zoning in terms of lot coverage, building coverage, setbacks, everything. There is a building height that we will clarify in a minute, but it's actually not a new condition. The CME review letter back in December requested clarification on average grade around these buildings. What we did was we provided an average grade calculation for every single lot. And as I mentioned previously, the eastern buildings on the exhibit will have walkout basements. So when you do the average grade around those buildings, the basement or the rear of the building is lower because it's a walkout basement. However, the street side of those buildings are at grade. But when you average the grade around the building because of that drop off, some of those buildings actually technically have a building height variance, which 30 feet is allowed. And just in general, most of those are in the 31 to 32 foot range. So it's a very slight deviation. However, it's required because they are technically walkout basements. But as you drive down the proposed cartway and the roadway, you'll actually see a standard building height. It just happens to be that some of them have walkout basements, which is technically why we need a variance. If you don't mind, there's another exhibit right after this. Yep, perfect, thank you. Do you mind zooming out just once? I'm not sure if this was marked in the new exhibit list, but.
Just have that. Yes, this is 826.
Yeah, so 826 is a sightline exhibit prepared by my office, and basically this is just a cross-section view of what that existing and proposed grade would look like, just to tie into what I was just saying about the building height. So we picked basically the quote-unquote worst-case scenario, so we cut a cross-section through this. And on the right side of the exhibit, you could see the existing building on Lorelei Drive looking towards the proposed development. So what you could see is the property line vertically in the middle of the bottom exhibit, and you see that large existing tree line. All of those existing trees will remain. We're not removing those trees. And then you see a lower landscape understory. Those are all proposed trees. We show those at planting height, but those will all grow to mature tree heights to meet a similar height as what you see on those existing tree lines. And then as you work your way to the left of the exhibit, you could see the proposed building. It's really just a 2.5-story building, but as you walk out to that basement, you could see how the grade drops off and how we tie in and how subtle that grading is tying into that buffer and the off-site properties. Previously, they had a 3-to-1 slope in that buffer. It would have been basically a sheer cliff right on the property line, but we're keeping the existing grades and completely meeting the requirements for the grading. As I mentioned, we worked hand in hand with the architect to prepare this exhibit and the new design. We are completely compliant with the previous building design that was presented. The applicant is obviously willing to meet and will meet the look-alike ordinance requirement, but with the building setback and all the new design, there'll be no setback variances of any kind. I did review the signage testimony that was provided in December. No change to signage. We relocated the monument sign a little bit, but it's completely compliant in terms of setback locations. But there will be a sign area variance, which the architect provided in December. Just lastly, we meet the tree removal and replacement calculations. The new design completely complies with vehicle circulation requirements for fire trucks and emergency vehicles and garbage trucks. And we did have a chance to review the the township's updated review letters. I did have a chance to discuss them with the board professionals. And from a overall standpoint, I believe I addressed most of their questions in my testimony, but I'd be happy to go over anything in more detail if you'd like.
Yeah, so at that point, I mean, we can turn to the board's professionals or the board if you have any questions for Tom, or if we missed anything in the review letters.
Laura?
So just confirming that the roads and stormwater will all be privately owned and maintained?
That's correct, and there will be an HOA. Obviously, we'll get HOA docs to Mr. Bayer to review, make sure all the conditions for the approval, if approval is granted, are incorporated in the HOA docs.
And you would concur that, or at least agree on the record that no dens would be converted to bedrooms?
Yeah, I think we would confirm that, yes.
And what about garages?
But would they be converted to bedrooms? No, no.
I just wanted to stipulate it on the record.
Can we, it kind of took the words out of my mouth. Excuse me if I don't know the proper terminology, I'm going to throw it out there. Is there a way that we could put a deed restriction on that for conversion?
What I would recommend is you make it a condition of approval and that resolution be filed at the county.
That the walkout basements included will not be bedrooms?
Yeah, that's what we've done in the past.
Okay.
So, and we would do both. We'd
Okay.
record the resolution of approval. We would also make it part of our HOA documents again.
Perfect.
So,
So, Mr. Chairman, beyond that, I do think that Mr. Miller went through all of the points of my letter. As the board will recall, I had substantial drainage concerns at the last hearing, and a lot of that was due to the disturbance which was going to occur on the Lorelei side. I did have the opportunity to meet in the field on the site with the applicant and their team and encourage them to move the disturbance. So as far as an engineering perspective, I'm much happier with this design because it doesn't propose that steep slope where, in my mind, water doesn't turn 90 degrees. And so what my concern was putting that slope in the buffer, that water was going to sheet down and go to these residents' properties. So with this, honoring that 50-foot buffer, not disturbing it, providing the planting, provides for more of a progressive grade change that follows the natural pattern. So I am much happier with this design.
Yeah, I would agree.
so are we.
Yeah.
So it's the applicant.
It's much nicer. Question on the, last time there was talk about hauling an enormous amount of fill, but you're using the existing balance within the property now, or are you still hauling in material? You have to raise the grade some
Yeah, the grades still need to be raised.
towards the front of the...
Yeah, we're pitching the roadways back towards Newton's Corner. We want to keep them away from the east. So there still will be fill on site, but
But not as much as it was before. I mean, we're talking like 5 to 8 feet, I heard.
You haven't done a calc on their plan, but if I had to guess, it would be,
There's quite a bit of fill. So, okay, good.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Can you just specify on the buffer, so the plan says it's a 50-foot vegetated buffer. Is that, and it says they will be marked. What are, is there going to be signs along the buffer? How are you doing that? Monuments?
Yeah, I think the request was to do monuments, right?
Correct.
So we would place monuments around the buffer.
The monuments are going to be sunken, or
Generally, yeah.
so that people eventually won't see them? So
Typically, we require a split rail fence
Oh, right.
on that buffer line.
And we'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. We had discussed that before, so
Yes.
that would be fine. Just to, frankly, I didn't know that it wasn't shown on the plan, but just to demarcate where the buffer is in people's
Yeah.
backyards. Yes,
okay.
that's okay.
And then one other question on that, is that property part of the HOA, or will that be the private homeowner's property?
The way it's drawn, it would be the private home.
Right, I know.
Yeah, I mean,
But they didn't want them to have shade trees, so.
I think the way that we have the lots laid out right now, it would be, that buffer area would be each private homeowner's buffer area, but we could do, similar to what we're doing with recording the resolution and the HOA documents. Do you typically do like a conservation area or something like that? Yeah, so we could do that, conservation easement in favor of the township to,
Okay,
for the
so
buffer.
I'm gonna stop this conversation right here. We don't want a conservation easement, because then that requires this goes on our Green Acres Rossi, and then if anything happens, it's on us, which happened before, where someone put a swing set in a buffer, and it came back on us, that we either force the guy to remove it, or have to go for a diversion at 25 to 1. So, we can call it a buffer, we can deed restrict it, whatever we want, it's not gonna be a conservation
That's fine,
easement.
yeah. We'll do some sort of buffer restriction to make sure that people know they can't do things in there, but we won't call it a conservation restriction.
So, a question for you, Tom, maybe this is for you. The buffer, right? I mean, I guess on the southern side, or even the northwestern first house on Athens Court, I mean, it doesn't look like a hell of a lot of backyard room, right? I mean, to the buffer, right? What are you talking, feet-wise, from the end of the building? I mean,
The ordinance, the rear yard setback for those buildings are required to be 25 feet. So the ordinance requires us to set back the structure 25 feet from that buffer. So it's a 25-foot backyard with the maximum size patio. So if someone felt they didn't want that size patio, they would just have more green space.
so is that what I'm reading, is you have 6 feet of lawn between the patio and the buffer?
But they have 25 feet, so what's required.
Right, okay.
So they're showing you the max, and
Max
that was one of the
patio
things we
and
asked.
6 feet of lawn.
We asked them to do
Correct.
that.
Got it.
So, but in theory, if you see my cursor, from this
Yep.
line to the structure, there is 25 feet in there.
Okay.
So a homeowner doesn't need to build this patio.
Right.
They might decide they'd like to put in a pool. But whatever they put in has to be put in within this area to the buffer.
And that buffer is the split rail fence, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
So if a homeowner moves in there and then just decides they want to cut down the trees in that buffer, what's like the recourse?
Well, there would be a violation, especially with the
violation.
restriction.
Like a township fine, that is?
They would wind up in court, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'd also be an HOA violation.
It'd be a couple different types of violations, yeah. HOA for sure, and zoning violation, municipal court.
But it is their property, I think,
Not
right?
trespass, but they'd be violating HOA rules and regulations, and if we record something and make it enforceable by the township, it's a condition of the approval, so it'd be a zoning violation as well.
Okay. But it is, just to be clear though, it is the homeowner's property, not the HOA's property, right?
Correct, that's right,
Correct.
yeah.
Okay. So that should show up as a deed restriction in each individual home's deed, right?
That's right.
And guys,
The way that the ordinance reads for a major subdivision, which is what this is that the setbacks are measured off the buffer. So the rear yard setback requirement is 25 feet, and they are adhering to the 25 feet. Historically, it was measured off the property line, which would have been in that buffer. So they could have put a building all the way to the buffer line. That's why years ago, the town amended that to require a major subdivision to measure the rear yard setback off that buffer line, to give an individual property owner the opportunity to put in that backyard space what they would want to put there.
Okay.
What's the maximum fill height on the site, on that far east end there?
In the most extreme location, existing grade is approximately 78, and our driveway grade is 86.
Okay,
So it's 8 feet at its extreme location, roughly.
gotcha. Does that disparity exist along the southern property line as well? Because I know if you're bringing up the east side to slope back towards Newton's Corner, would you also have a slope going downward at the southern end of the site? And how would you resolve that grade? Would it also be walkout basements, or does that slope carry into I know there was an issue before with it carrying into the buffer. How does that grade resolve on the south side of it?
Yeah, we're actually able to tie into existing grades much easier on most of those southern properties.
Is natural grade just higher there?
Yeah, natural grade is roughly elevation 83.
Okay.
For instance, those backyards are roughly elevation 84, so it's a perfectly subtle grade there.
Gotcha.
And then the last two lots on the southern part, which are lots 62 and 63, those are technically walkout basements just because that's where the grade starts to drop off more, but everything else to the west of that is at grade.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for our professionals. On that southeastern property, the large yard,
Yep.
I guess it's more of a zoning question, but possibly not. Is that, is it developable for an accessory structure?
Of course.
I was
That-
just going to ask about this.
So, an accessory structure in this town that would just be a little bit smaller than the house. So, that is my question.
We have requirements in the ordinance in terms of accessory structures and how many and the setbacks and what have you, and it has to be setback like twice the height. But yeah, it's,
I mean, you could almost put two accessory structures
Well, what I
on
did
there.
hear, though, Chairman, was they have designed this for showing the max coverage for each
Correct.
of these lots, and what they've indicated is if there's a deviation, so they've designed this showing that patio and that shed, Mr. Goen, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, which gets them to X number of coverage, and they've committed that they won't exceed that.
That's right. That's what I was just asking Tom. So anything that's built in that backyard is going to have to be the same, that, you can see the footprint based on that patio. So that's the maximum amount of coverage that you would be able to add.
Even in that large corner
Correct.
lot? Is that
Yeah.
still approximately an acre, that corner lot there, 43,000?
Yeah, it's
About an acre, yeah.
1.2 acres, yeah.
Okay.
So that's what they,
What coverage is that? What percent coverage? That's not 30 or 40.
well,
That's a
again,
lot
there's
less.
no max coverage in this zone, which is
Right.
what we spent time talking about at the
Right.
last hearing.
What does it work out to? I mean, just-
Mr. Miller, do you know what
I
it
know we
is
said
on
nine
that
on the
lot?
plan.
That lot is 9% impervious coverage,
Okay.
because it's so large.
Okay, so it's limited to 9. That was what I was going to ask about, Nick, as well, because we have these accessory structures almost the size of a house.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if we should put a restriction on those similar to what we're doing with the garage conversions and all that other stuff. But if
No,
it's
but I
the
think
max
that,
coverage, then
yeah,
I think
that's going to
okay.
be handled by the max coverage, which as Mr. Miller mentioned, we're going to stick to this chart that he has on this plan, which will become part of the resolution, and that'll cap the coverage on each lot.
So if the board members look, I know it's hard to see, I'm trying to zoom, but this last line is showing the maximum proposed coverage for each of those lots. Looks like it ranges from 39. What is this one? What is this 85? Lot 78.
Lot 70 is the roadway, right?
Yeah, it's the road. So
Right.
that's the road.
Yeah.
So essentially, and I believe this is what we committed to last time, we had talked about a coverage of around 45%. Looks like one of the lots is 45.8. And it looks like that's the highest, and it goes down to a low of 12.8.
But Laura, that's including driveway too?
Yes.
So that's driveway, sidewalk, patio, shed
Building,
as shown.
Building.
Building, right?
Correct. That's the
So-
maximum overall impervious coverage. And what they've committed to is that this will be the max coverage for each of those lots.
So the patio and the shed, that's just graphical, just to kind
Correct.
of show.
That's just so you can see what it would look like with maximum coverage.
So what's
but
to
that's-
stop someone from not putting in a patio or a shed and still having a large accessory
Well,
structure back
because
there?
they're capped by this max. So,
They would
I
have
mean, you
to
could
give
still get
up
a pretty
something.
large accessory structure.
yeah, what they're saying is they're not going to exceed the coverage that they're showing. So for example, on that large lot, I think they've indicated that the proposed coverage they're showing is 9%, including driveway, dwelling, and they will not exceed that. So,
And that's including the hypothetical patio.
right, but if they take that patio out and shed, it would just be an off-site, so
They couldn't exceed that existing footprint of the patio and shed.
by way of area, correct. So they
Correct.
can put a structure in this area and
Yeah,
are
I'm
fully
saying that would be a
compliant.
big-
I mean, that's kind of where we're going.
Patio and said, I don't want it, I want to put an accessory structure this same footprint over here, that's more than half the size of the building.
Yeah, but it's still only 9% of the lot. I mean, I would defer to the board. I don't think that's unrealistic.
How is that lot going to be owned, the large one?
It's owned
Privately.
It's a house. That's part of the home.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a nice lot. It's a
it's
nice
much
big
bigger
lot.
than the
That's
others.
the one
Yeah.
I would want.
Right, yeah, of
That's
course.
what we said too.
Yeah, we'll pick that one.
We could talk after, Andy.
Let the homeowner register, sure.
With adding additional cul-de-sac, are they both in excess of the 96 foot?
Yeah, the cartway, the curb line of that bulb meets RSI standards, as well as the right-of-way around that bulb, it meets RSI standards.
So they're in excess?
It either meets or exceeds, correct?
I just want to go on the record. I think this design is great. I think he did a great job. Blew Verdantis out of the water.
Thank you.
But that southeastern property is, I'm telling you right now, there's going to be another structure on that property, and it's concerning to me. I've seen it in this town, and I know, there's, scares me there's going to be
Well, the restriction is 9%.
I understand that, but in a neighborhood where, residents have been living there and they're going to see another house, people are calling it houses, people are calling it accessory structures, I think it's going to be a problem.
9%, could we say 9% and no accessory structure greater than 20% of the primary residence footprint? Something
You
like
can.
that, so that,
Yeah, I mean,
that they don't have a,
I would like to put some type of restriction on an accessory structure, because that's a lot of land to build on. And I understand it's capped on a percentage, but if you move that little patio, I mean, it's like 3/4 of the size of the house.
Yeah, I have it all right here. I don't know if you-
Is there any way to absorb some of that lot into the buffer?
Steve, if you need
Make
like
the lot
5 minutes.
It's just that one lot.
Yeah, so I'm saying if they were to
I
take
mean, if they're all
that
2,000
lot,
square foot
yeah,
footprints, and you
generally
said like
speaking, we don't,
20%, that's 400,
yeah,
so
we
that's a
get it.
20 by 20, that's a huge accessory structure.
Correct.
That could be a garage.
If that's
that could
if
be
that's a
anything.
condition you want to do, that's fine, we can leave it at that. We were
We
just
just don't
checking
want
to
it to
see
be
what the
the
requirements
size
were
of
on
the
accessory structures with this zone, but in terms of a condition, we're happy to agree to that, so. That
So
resolves
that was
it.
a maximum of 400 square feet, did you say?
I said 20% of the
20% of
primary
the
residence.
primary
If
residence.
they're 2,000 square foot, that would be 400, yeah.
Yeah, if somebody wants to build something bigger than that, they can come back themselves and ask for relief, how about that?
That works.
Yeah, 400 square feet still makes a pretty nice garage or man cave. You don't need it any bigger than that.
And that would just be a physical structure?
For a physical structure, yeah.
Correct.
So, right, it would be an
Like an
end statement. It
enclosed-
would be
And
the,
honestly, I would put in there whether it's a quote-unquote temporary structure like a pole barn or a permanent structure, because we've had those issues.
Yes.
Where the temporary structure doesn't get the same treatment as a permanent structure.
Correct.
So in this particular instance, any accessory structure, whether temporary or permanent, would have to comply with those requirements.
Correct.
agreed.
Good.
I had an architectural question.
Yeah, Mr. Gimbel.
I heard you say 2.5 stories for the walkout basement. Has anybody done that story above grade calculation as far as how bad the grade drops off? I mean,
Yep.
we're not talking about 3-story here, we're talking definitely 2.5.
Yeah, it's 2.5 from the finished floor up, and then the walkout basement drops down approximately 9 feet, which is a standard height of a floor. So like a basement is typically like a 9-foot floor height, so that grade just drops down to meet that 9 foot, so you can walk right out the back, but the driveway and the garage and the front door are at grade. So when you're on the street, you actually see 2.5 stories, but the back of the building, you just have that exposed basement.
So we're not talking about more than 6 feet on the sidewalls as far as that story above grade definition.
Yeah,
Does anybody, the calc architect do that calculation?
I'm not sure what you mean by sidewall.
UCC,
Is it more than 6 feet exposed on like this side?
the definition of story above grade is if you're more than 6 feet for 50% of the building, or if you're 12 feet total, any one place, it's considered a story.
So I just have to jump in, so I understand that that's a UCC requirement, but that's not an ordinance requirement. So
I'm not
that's a,
talking about stories, I just want to
I
say,
understand, but that's a building code requirement, not a zoning requirement. So here, it would be considered 2.5 stories regardless of the walkout basement, based upon the definition in the ordinance, not the UCC requirements. They do need relief for the total height, and let me be very clear, the relief they're asking for is 0.3 feet to 2.8 feet for the various homes because of those walkout basements and the grading in the back.
That's based off of the average grade?
Correct. So
Right.
you're taking the
So,
four
all right.
corners, yes.
Any other questions, gentlemen? Sherry, Jen, Laura? Anything?
Nothing additional at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have any other professionals coming?
Just our planner.
Okay. I'll wait to the end.
Sure.
Because I'm sure there's going to be some people that might have some questions.
Sure. So, Christine? Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
I'm sure that everybody knows Ms.
She's sworn
Gaffone.
in, but
No, she's got to be sworn in.
Last time.
Do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Say your name for the record, spell your last.
Good evening, it's Christine, Chrisistine, Cofone, Cofone. Business address is 52 Reckless Place, Red Bank, New Jersey, 07701. Testifying this evening as a licensed professional planner. I've been testifying as such for 30 years in the state of New Jersey, qualified here in Howell and hundreds of other boards throughout the state. My licenses are current and valid. In addition to that, I teach planning and zoning courses for the Rutgers Center for Government Services, and I am a court-appointed affordable housing special adjudicator.
We will accept your credentials.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman. So this is a substantially conforming application. While I was not at the last hearing, I was familiar with those plans and have been familiar with this site and the applicant for quite some time. I think if there was a most improved award in planning, we could give it to this site because we've certainly made a lot of improvements over the layout and the drainage to become more conforming, and in fact, mostly conforming with your ordinance here in Howell. In fact, the only relief that we require for the homes, as Planner Beam just indicated, is the de minimis relief for the height variances for just a handful of the properties relating to the grading on site. And the de minimis has to be relief for a height, has to be the height relief has to be de minimis, otherwise this board wouldn't have jurisdiction, right? We know that when you exceed the height by more than 10% of what's allowed in the zone, then you get kicked to the zoning board for a D variance. So here we have some de minimis relief that we're seeking. What I think is important to note here is that that's a C1 variance, in my opinion, relating to the existing grading and topography, right? Unique features on a piece of property are justification under the C1 section of the municipal land use law. But I also think if you look at the C2 section of the statute, there are a number of purposes in the municipal land use law that are advanced by this application. Criteria E of the land use law talks about establishing appropriate population densities. This R25 zone would set forth a density of about 6 dwelling units to the acre, and the applicant is about 2.47 dwelling units to the acre. So I think the board can rely on criteria E. I also think the board can rely on criteria I. You heard Mr. Muller testify that while we were seeking some variance relief, the heights would look uniform from the street, and that's important in a subdivision like this, right? We don't want we don't want to be granting relief so that homes are looking like they're out of character with the area. So I think the board can be assured that the streetscape will be certainly uniform throughout the property. I think also when you look at the master plan, which was re-examined just a few years ago, there were some stated goals in there that talked about continuing to provide a stable and diverse community through a balanced land use pattern and for the protection of neighborhood characters, neighborhood characteristics. I think that this subdivision is certainly consistent with the established pattern of lot areas. So I think the board can grant the variance relief under both the C1 and C2 section of the municipal land use law with respect to the height variances. We are also seeking a variance because this zone only allows a monument or a directional sign of 4 square feet, and ours is proposed to be 10. So we want certainly our sign to be visible so that people can make appropriate driving decisions, but also to recognize the community, right? So I think 10 square feet is a relatively modest signs compared to some other signs in this area. You've got the Wawa across the street and some other commercial activities going on in the general vicinity of this area. So I don't think that having a 10 square foot sign on this site is going to have any substantial negative impacts, right? And that's the test. The land use law does not ask you to hold this or any other applicant to a standard that there be no detriments, just that the benefit of the grant and the variance would outweigh any detriment. And here I see no substantial detriment to the sign variance, and the board can look at criteria H, which talks about promoting the free flow of traffic, but also criteria I, which creates a desirable visual environment. I think it adds some level of charm, community, and curb appeal to a community to have a sign identifying the subdivision's name. So with that being said, I think this application meets its burden of proof for the de minimis C variance relief that is associated with this applicant. To the extent there are any deficiencies with the quality of our buffer, because it is there in quantity, we meet that 50-foot perimeter buffer. To the extent any of your professionals, Ms. Spiro, Ms. Beam, or Ms. Newman, feel as though we need to fill in there, we're happy to work with them to do that. But as of right now, it is our opinion that we are delivering to you a compliant buffer on this property. And I know that that's very important to Howell. So with that being said, statutorily, this is a very conforming application to your R25 zone here in Howell, and the minimum relief that's required in conjunction with it can be substantiated under the positive and negative criteria that I established.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nothing further from me, from Ms. Cofone.
Thank you. Any questions, gentlemen? Jen? No? Laura?
No.
Great.
I'm going to go to the
I'm going to open this up to the public
Thank
for
you.
questions, comments. Please feel free to come up, state your name, your address, speak into the microphone clearly. Good evening.
Good evening. William O'Boyle, 54 Lorelei Drive.
Okay.
I was wondering if you could even pull up the other picture that you had there with
Sure.
the retention.
The sightline one? This one?
Yeah, I think, yes, that one, because that's my house, the red one, running down the hill.
This one?
Well, the bottom thing where you show the slope. Last time we were here, I know there was a question of grading, and I believe all the water was supposed to be pushed towards the Wawa.
No.
And-
Excuse me, sir, let me just swear you in.
Oh, okay.
Please swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
But I believe the last time we had a meeting, and there was a question about the grading. And you're looking at that, and I appreciate it. And I heard you, sir, say you actually drove by a site to look at it before you commented on it earlier. Yes. Not, but has anybody actually driven to Lorelei Drive and seen that there's sinkholes all up and down the street? The way that that property is pitched, it is not just a little grade down like that. The property grades like this and goes into a retention basin, which is right across the street on Lorelei Drive. We're losing, like I said, sinkholes daily. I'm grading my property to run the water that's coming down as it is without property there. What I ask is there any way to do a survey of the people that are living on Lorelei Drive and the way that water is flowing to see what, you know, especially now, there wasn't even going to be walkout basements last time we were here. I believe it was one large piece of property with one building, and because of the change with the grade now we have walkout basements, and we're digging into the ground, and I haven't seen anybody even come and knock on my door or anybody on my block saying, what's going on, you know, where's this water going? Why do we have sinkhole problems? You know, again, like I said, evidently there's going to be a development there, and I understand all of that, but my question is, what's going to do with the way the, you know, like I said, Lorelei Drive is a mess. And it just has to do with their sinkholes. I believe it's the way the water runs. On a good run, or when we're getting the snow melting, my driveway looks like a river. It runs down that way. I'm actually trenching the water down.
Let me ask you something on Lorelei. So it's not just from this property, correct? I mean, you have a water issue, period, on that road.
The entire way the development is,
Right.
it's high here, and everything just kind of grades down to where they built the newer, bigger houses. But again, you have a retention basin right across the street where the water's supposed to go. My question is if we're having this kind of problem now with 24 units and now 4 subterranean basements put in, has anybody looked at what that is going to do?
I guess, Steve,
To
do you
these
want
houses.
to have Tom?
Yeah, Tom, why don't you come up?
Yeah, so we specifically made a point of analysis, basically calculating the runoff rate that's going to this point, because, as you mentioned, it is actually a low point under existing conditions where that common property line is. And then naturally, the grade continues onto Lorelei and then across the street to the east to that existing detention basin. So we analyzed the amount of water that's going to this specific point. And what we're doing is we're actually reducing the amount of stormwater runoff to that area significantly. We analyzed the 2-year storm under existing and projected storm rates, so even out to 2100, basically 80 years from now. We did analysis for the 2-year storm, the 10-year storm, and the 100-year storm.
Mr. Miller, I'm going to appreciate this testimony, and I'm going to let you go, but what part of this is that your site was getting lifted under the prior design, and still in this design, you're still lifting the site so that water, and I'm going to let you speak technically, but just to explain, sir, they are still lifting the site to divert water that currently goes to Lorelei towards the front of the site, towards Newton's Corner.
I see that. Does anybody also see the other level of, it's not just the grade going this way, you have grade coming this way too?
Yes, sir, and that,
So
and having been
that's-
out there, that was one of my main issues previously,
I mean, I have
was
a
also.
neighbor that has blackstone that he's got to wash off because he gets so much water on it coming off of there. He's got to
That's a
retain it.
current condition, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what she's trying to explain to you is what is going to happen here.
And part of the concern was
It's a different,
allowing more of your natural grade to exist between your properties despite lifting to divert water. So, and I know what you're saying under the existing, and I'm going to let
Because we're not
Mr.
lifting,
Miller
we're
go back to
digging.
numbers, but what they're obligated to do is not increase flows. They have to show reduction and not increase flows to any points. So I can tell you that they're still doing that, and they are still lifting the site, which was previously what was provided to divert stormwater, which currently naturally flows towards Lorelei, picking it up to push it towards Newton's Corner. Now, as you said, there's still the existing area, right? We're not going to disturb that buffer anymore. So now there's still natural water that's going to go there, but by virtue of lifting the site to push water towards Newton's Corner, that will occur, that there won't be increases. Having said that, Mr. Miller, you can go back through it. I just wanted to break it down for what we're actually doing, because he's going to give you numbers, and
I appreciate that.
and at the end of the day, he's going to testify to it, but I wanted you to understand that they are still lifting and diverting water which previously or today goes to Lorelei and moving it towards the front of the site. Sorry, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, I agree 100% with everything you said. Just to keep it simple, under existing conditions, there's a very large farm or nursery, and just generally speaking, probably about half of that nursery goes and drains basically through your backyard. Now with the proposed project, the only water that's being drained in that direction is the very limited lawn and backyards of those buildings. Everything else is being directed to the west. So we're significantly reducing the amount of actual land that's draining to your property, but we're also reducing the peak runoff rates for all the storm events, and that means we're also reducing the volume of water for all storm events. So just for reference purposes, we're reducing under the smallest storm 6,800 cubic feet, which is a lot of water. We're reducing it by that much under proposed conditions, and then projecting it out to the 2100-year 100-year storm, over 60,000 cubic feet of runoff is being reduced to your property under proposed conditions. And that's all because we're forcing it all back to the west. And it's a significant improvement, certainly, to all points of analysis, but especially your backyard there.
Thank you. Like I said, I just asked if maybe before we agree to anything, if it could just be looked at again, the street and everything that we're talking about, because it is water damage, but thank you for your time. And I ask one other thing about the walkout basements. I had heard you mention no bedrooms. If maybe it could be verbiage of no living space.
Well, I don't know that we can do that, like.
I can't live in my
Or
basement.
something like that.
Yeah, a living space could be a living room.
Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry?
bedroom is the biggest.
A living space could be, definition of that could be a living room, would be a living space, and,
You can finish your basement.
Yeah, you're allowed to finish a basement, so no bedrooms, I think, is
Bedroom
about
would
as
be
far as
the-
we can go.
But is it still considered a basement, or is it considered a living room? Is it another room when I go to sell my house?
Well, it's essentially a basement. I mean, it's impounded from the front of the home. So what we're saying is they can't put a basement in there. A bedroom, I'm sorry, a bedroom.
Below-grade living space.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public with any comments or questions? Seeing none, I will close the public portion. Steve, you have any closing comments?
I don't. I think the board, you can see, we've got a much improved plan here. Really glad to be working with Tom on this, and hopefully the board appreciates the redesign, and hopefully you'll vote for approval.
Yeah, I commend this application. Dynamic did a really nice job with this. But I certainly understand the gentleman's comments about the water, and I think this design will definitely see not an increase, but a decrease of water. But okay. Any comments, questions, final initiations? All right. If not, at this time, I will entertain a motion. Please state whether you're approving or denying with your motion.
Could we just summarize all the caveats?
Oh, yes,
before
with the
we vote?
caveats.
Yeah, so that no garage conversion in the living space, no bedrooms in the walkout, 20% accessory structures, 20% of the primary residence accessory structures, relief on the height. And was
Split
there
rail
another one?
fence along the buffer.
Split rail
Split
fence,
rail
yeah, for
fence
the
along the
buffer.
buffer.
Meet the look-alike requirement.
Meet look like.
The buffer would be in a, there would be a restriction imposed upon the buffer area so
Okay.
that it couldn't be disturbed.
Sure.
Yeah. So with all of those, I will entertain a motion.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the application.
Mr. Mercer with a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Wetko? Roll call, please.
Mr. Beto?
Yes.
Mr. Friedman?
Yes.
Mr. Carbonic?
Yes.
Mr. McNicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Mercer?
Yes.
Councilman Rebel?
Yes.
Mr. Wetko?
Yes.
Ms. Core? Chairman Hazard?
Yes.
Motion carries, application is approved.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night. Any master plan updates?
The only update that I want to share with the board is that, given the fact that we're not going to have a meeting in 2 weeks, we are moving the master plan subcommittee meeting to the first meeting, like before the first meeting in April. So 6:30 PM here on that meeting date, whatever the date is in April that we have our first meeting, the meeting is going to be then. We may have it back-to-back depending on what happens at that meeting, but we're going to reschedule the one that's scheduled for the 19th to the first meeting in April.
Okay. And just a reminder, we have a planning board meeting next Monday here. Is it 6 p.m.? 6 p.m. here. Please be here. If you're not going to be here, please let me or Eileen or Lisa know ASAP. We do need a quorum to vote. Are we hearing, Jen, are we, who is going to do the presentation?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be doing the presentation.
Laura, you're going to be doing it, okay. We have to listen to Laura, and please make every opportunity to be here. And then we don't have another meeting in March. So at this time, executive session, Andy, any reason?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr.
Second that.
Councilman, thank you.